Now, I'm not really one for hot hatches, and I don't really prefer the kind of hatchback styling of a car, but when the Hyundai i30N came out in 2018, there was something in me that just sort of connected with it. And I really like the point of it, I love the intention of it, and I just love the car full stop. And there is no kind of preference of how a car looks or is made that stops me from loving it. Hot hatches in general have never really done anything for me. I don't really like a Golf R. I just think it's a family car that's been souped up that too many people pay attention to. Don't really like the point of a Mercedes A-Class, so let alone the A45. It's just crazy to me. And then the Audi RS3, as much as it's a great looking hatchback, I just don't think it has a lot of taste to it. I think you can do much better. So looking at Hyundai i30N, which is cheaper even in second-hand value of all of them for equivalent cars. I know it came out in 2018, but an equivalent Golf R, for example, is going to be 30k. This just seems like a great option if you were in the market for a hot hatch. The fact that the car is somewhat subtle for modern hot hatch standards is great to me, because I just love the idea that it could just be a normal car, but only you know. You only know if you got in as a passenger and floored it. That's the only way someone else will be able to tell. I like that element of it. I don't like being shouty about it, and I don't like how the RS3 is quite clearly an RS3 in comparison to an A3, or same with the Golf R, and people just have like ridiculously loud things and know exactly what car it is. There's an element of taste that is attached to you when you like that subtlety, and the i30N has an abundance of that. Not only are its racing features of like its seats, its brake calipers, everything like that, not only are they in-house and developed by themselves, which in essence is subtle because it's their own, and also helps bring down the cost. I just love that. And even just in other elements of the car, I realised that the paint and the red lines and stuff are somewhat boisterous, but for modern hot hatch standards, it's not. And the looks of it as well, I think, are great. I think the only comparable car that is as good looking that is a hatchback out of new models is the new Ford Focus shape. The new 1 Series, for example, is shocking. It's just pretty much the A-Class. So when you see this, I love it. And there are a lot of similarities in the way this looks to the A-Class, but it does it better in my opinion. Like the rear end, for example, it's not boring enough that you usually get in hot hatches, and they've done something to it and it looks great. And the problem with all the other hot hatches I've mentioned earlier is they seem to have too much power for what the car is and what a hot hatch should be. Obviously the hot hatches that first started the trend were not overly powerful. They were powerful in comparison to how much they weighed and how much of a car that they were. They were enough to have fun in the car. They weren't just out and out stat wars. But this car has a 2-litre turbo engine with 275 horsepower, and I think that's plenty, and that can have as much fun as you want from a hot hatch. The sound of the engine is great, but I don't know how much of that is fake. But if it is fake, they're doing a great job because I love it. I know the car has adaptive dampers, so even though it might be front wheel drive, you can still have a bit of fun and you still get performance going through into a corner or something like that. And that is my only downside to the car, is it is front wheel drive. I just think rear wheel drive is the way to go if you want fun in a car. That's my experience. That's how I've felt it went in rear wheel drive cars that I've driven. The BMW 1 Series, the new one, for example, has gone front wheel drive. I don't necessarily agree with that, but obviously there is a trend to that, so therefore there is some validity to front wheel drive hot hatches. And of all other competitors, the i30N, this is cheaper by miles. You're looking at around 20k for a second-hand 2018 one. And any 2018 model of the Civic Type R, Focus ST, Audi RS3, Audi S3, Golf R, Mercedes A45 are all 25k to 30k for similar mileage. So when you take into account the subtlety, the in-house products, the fact that it was engineered with the intention of performance in mind as opposed to the way it looks, there was so many things going for this that make it a great option. And if I personally were to be looking specifically for a hot hatch with that money, I think this would be my choice over something like a Civic Type R. And I think this car, as an example to all of the manufacturers that are thinking of making hot hatches in future, needs to be an example of how to do it. It's when performance and fun and the way that the car drives comes first, to the point where all other things like its appearance, its racing elements are all second to the performance and the way it feels to drive. Because like Hyundai have done here, I think is a great example to a hot hatch, because that's what it should be. It should be fun to drive, anything else is extra. But what do I know? I drive a white Fiesta, not exactly a hot hatch, so make up your own mind.